Hey everybody, welcome to 30 Ways to Happy Days. I am Alana Yvonne with Truly Great Life, and we are on way number 22. Way number 22 is Zest. Character strength, the quality of zest. So for those of you who might be as old as I am, you may recall a commercial from the 80s for a soap called Zest. I don't know, do they still sell it? And it was about being zestfully clean. And so what comes to mind when you think of the word zest, other than if I just gave you that image of the commercial? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look on YouTube, because we have all those old commercials now on the internet. But basically, zest is that quality of enthusiasm, of excitement, right? Of life as an adventure, of vitality, aliveness. And apparently you can get it all from this soap. I'm just kidding. Although I do have somewhere, not accessible right now, but at one point I did keep a bar of Zest in my office just to remind me to be tapping into Zest. I'm pretending I'm holding it right here. All right, so jumping right in, I just gave a little bit more of the definition, but really zest. It's kind of a weird word, right? Like no one really walks around saying, I'm feeling zesty today. But it's really that quality of enthusiasm, of energy. You do things with that quality of enthusiasm, energy, excitement. It's a energized state. It's being active. You're doing what you do in your life with that quality of energy and excitement. Okay. So obviously there's a spectrum, like with all of these ways to happy days, these strengths, these character strengths. And again, if you haven't listened or watched ways 1 and 2, I highly recommend you do, because they are foundational to the rest of the ways. But there's a spectrum, right? So think of where you are on that spectrum of zestiness, right? Which do you feel like zest is one of your top strengths naturally? Again, a top strength would be one that you're using easily, effortlessly. It energizes you. If someone were to like take it away, you'd be like, I'm not myself without it. So zest tends to be high up there for me personally. And if it's up there for you, high use of it for yourself as a strength, then you kind of know when you're not using it, right? Because when you're at your best, and again, these character strengths are really helping us be at our best. And when we're using the ones that come more naturally, more easily, more effortlessly, that give us energy, that feel essential to who we are, then we feel like we are in that zone. Right? We're just in that zone of like being our true selves or being our best selves and feeling more of that desired state of well-being, let's say, right? Or that thriving, that flourishing, that happiness. Because things are just going well with whatever it is, in a way that is like honoring who you are and how you are when you're at your best. So that doesn't mean everything is going your way 100%, right? But it just means like you're able to kind of be, who you are, where you are, when you are, and with whom you want to be. Okay, so where are you at with zest? Okay, and so maybe you're at the other end of, if zest is a bell curve, right? Some people are like, whoa, you see them, and if you're someone who's maybe in the middle or the lower end, you're like, dude, they are just too much, right? And if you're one of those people who's been told you're too much, in like a positive, loving, teasing kind of way, maybe, right? But maybe you are naturally high in zest, or maybe you're overusing zest, right? Part of using this quality of enthusiasm, of excitement, of energy in what you do is when it's paired with the other ways to happy days that we've talked about, which includes social intelligence, for example. You're reading the room, okay? So if you're going into an environment where people are maybe more subdued, or it's a more serious situation, you do want to make sure, if you are someone who's naturally high in zest, it's not about you being your zesty self. You are in community, you are in an environment with other people. Read the room, maybe you tone it down, right? So we want to always, like with all of these ways, find ways to be sensitive to others in whatever the situation is, so that even if it's a top strength for you, make sure that it is an appropriate setting for you to express that strength. Because these ways to happy days are assuming that we're not hermits, right? We work with other people, we live with other people maybe, we are in relationship with people, we deal with people all the time, and everybody is different. Everybody has their own, let's just keep it really simple, combination of character strengths, right? Everyone has their own personalities, everyone has their own skills, talents, values, priorities, etc., etc. But we work in community for a lot of it, whether it's at work or at home. We're part of a home team, let's say, if you have a family or a partner or whatever, or you're a parent, or you're at work and you manage people, or you're managed by other people, or however it is. So we want to be sensitive to the fact that other people may experience life differently or may feel differently about it. Now, it doesn't mean to get, tie yourself up in knots, because you don't need to meet everybody. You don't need to become what other people are, but you want to be sensitive to how other people may be feeling, at least partly, right? We just like when we are going through something, we want to be taken into consideration. We want to take others into consideration as well. All of these ways to happy days, all of these character strengths, they are a lens for empathy. They are a lens for viewing other people, but it does demand that we step outside of ourselves in order to think about the other people, the other person, the other situation, at least a little bit, okay? It is very easy with the craziness of your busy day or whatever you have going on to just put on the blinders and be focused on yourself. But what I'm trying to encourage all of us, and this is a reminder for me, and if all of this is known to you already, then it's just a reminder, open the blinders. Stop for a minute and think, what is the other person maybe feeling or experiencing, and how am I contributing to that or not helping in that way, and then what can I do about it? So Zest is one of those character strengths that is most highly associated in the research, per the research, with like happiness and thriving. But it's also simultaneously one of those character strengths that is least used. Like, it's not a high strength for most people. Okay, so if you're one of those people that Zest comes naturally, just be aware that it may not be as high a strength for others, and just be aware, using your social intelligence, of what's going on around you, okay? Because sometimes, as someone guilty of having a higher strength of Zest, like, you can get caught up in your own enthusiasm and like, you don't want to steamroll, right? I'll just give an example. With my family, I probably have the highest Zest out of my immediate family members, with my husband and my kids, except for maybe one kid who may have more than me. But it's like, it's something you got to balance, right? And it's something that I get caught up in the excitement about something. I can look at something from this philosophical perspective of adventure, and, everyone else is kind of like, Ma, tone it down. Like, or not relating. So again, just within my own microcosm of my family, and think about what you are going through. Think about the situations you're in. If you are high in Zest, or even if you're not high in Zest, maybe you know somebody who, now that we're talking about this, you're like, oh, they probably have Zest really high. So again, using it in an appropriate way, sensitive to other people, just sharing that. So for you, if you don't relate to Zest, if like people who are super zesty annoy you or something like that, again, this is a muscle you do have. You do have it. It just may not be used at all, right? I mean, maybe you, and one thing to think about is like, go back to when you were a kid. Many kids, and if you need to go back to when they were a baby and didn't know any better, you can do that. But like, babies, toddlers, many kids, I would say the majority of kids, which is why we love talking about childhood so much, or babies and the innocence, there's a zesty quality, I would say, to youngsters, right? There's this enthusiasm, everything is new, there's a delight. All you need to do is watch a video. There was like two toddlers on a big wide snow shovel going for a ride, all bundled up, and it was very gentle, and they were like just kind of gently pushed on the snow. I don't know how that came up on my feed, but it's adorable. And the joy on their faces, and their enthusiasm for life and looking at life as an adventure, like even in those little babies, you can see it. So maybe life has given you a couple hard knocks and you can't tap into that feeling of like delight, adventure, enthusiasm, excitement, just go back. When is the last time you felt that? Because I'm sure, I can almost guarantee that at some point in your life, even if it was decades ago when you were a baby, you had that kind of enthusiasm, right? And so if you need to go back to it and say, well, I know I have that muscle, then you are invited to start exercising it. So how the heck do we exercise Zest? Okay, if we know that Zest is one of those ways to happy days that the research shows, and just think of people right? People who are naturally enthusiastic or excited or, see things as an adventure. They have this enthusiasm about them. Like, how does that make you feel? And if it annoys you, then why? Right? Maybe it's overused, but is there something there that you wish you could be enthusiastic about something? Or, do you sometimes look and you're like, God, I wish I felt that excited about something, but I don't, right? So go back. We get to mine our life story to make it relevant. These things that I'm sharing, you want to try and make them relevant for you. I'm sharing some of my own stories just to maybe get the ball rolling on your end. But think about a time that you used any of these ways to happy days. But for this one, we're talking about Zest. When did you feel enthusiasm, right? Okay, but now so we know that Zest is, a great character strength to use. It's a great tool. Lana says I have it, research says I have it, but I don't know what the heck she's talking about. How do you move that? How do you make that happen? How do you get a little more on the zesty, I guess you can use, what is it, like lemon zest? A zester, right? That's interesting. Okay, who knows why we call it a lemon zester? Is there anything zesty about it? I don't know, maybe it brings to life the recipe a little more. Let me know if you know. I'm just coming up with that right now. Okay, but think of a tough day you're having right now. I am going to talk about how we can, bring more zest. But if you're going through a tough situation right now, if you're going through, right, a difficult day, whatever that is, how can you use, first of all, any of these ways we've talked about, but specifically Zest? How can you bring enthusiasm into it? And maybe enthusiasm is like the last thing. And maybe you need to go through like feeling whatever you're feeling on the more like sad side, negative side, grieving side, whatever that is, in order to get through. Because again, you can't go around, you got to go through. That's kind of how we go through the tough times. But how can Zest accompany you? And maybe it's as simple as knowing that having the idea of enthusiasm for something and being curious about that and wanting, if you value that and you want to have that kind of enthusiasm in your life, at least in part of your life, then hold on to that idea even if you don't see it, right? Hold on to that idea of like, there's an adventure here even though I'm in like, I got to hold on a little longer to see how I go up. I'm not sure how this story ends. I want to see it. I want to see it through, right? And so bringing that sense of adventure, and you can see how this ties into meaning, okay? This can be, which is one of the ingredients or one of the variables of the formula for, a truly great life, for a happy life. And that's all coming from positive psychology, PERMA. That was in ways 1 or 2. So definitely go back and listen to it. But when you have meaning, right, how can you bring zest into your sense of a meaningful life, of having your sense of purpose? Okay. When you have that sense of purpose and that sense of meaning, right, that you're here to do something, even if you're figuring it out, zest, that enthusiasm, that energy, that sense of adventure, that comes along for the ride because you're aligned with it, right? You're aligned with that meaning in a way that it's just natural. It's naturally also infectious. I mean, whatever it is that gives you that joy, that meaning, that purpose, I know those are different things, but people find meaning in different ways, right? So you can know somebody who finds meaning and purpose in something you do not relate to at all, but you see how it lightens them up, how it enlivens them. So it works for them. So yay. So when you're looking at other people, and when and you can look in movies, you can look on videos, you can think of people in your environment, in your community, in your work, in your family, pay attention to what livens them up. Pay attention to what gives them enthusiasm, what they're enthusiastic about, what they get excited about, what seems to bring them to life. and you will get a little hint into like what makes them tick. Because those things that resonate with us and bring us to life, those are like signposts to the things that will make us happy. Happy days. But it could also be connected to a purpose and a sense of meaning. Okay? So there's a loneliness crisis out there. There's like a meaning crisis out there. A lot of people not having a sense of purpose and meaning. Tie it back to what you are enthusiastic about, or if that's too much, what you're curious about. And we will talk about curiosity in a future recording, okay? Just a little sneak preview there. But what lights you up? And I'm going to give you a little hint. And you can take this however you want. But enthusiasm at root is from entheos. Entheos, okay? So what does that mean? Like with God, in God, okay? So you know, you might be rolling your eyes saying, Lana, I do not believe in God. Why are you bringing God up? But I'm just sharing the origin of the word. So whether or not you believe in a higher power, spirit, creator, whatever it is for you or not, universe, when you're enthusiastic, you are like aligned with how you're made, or you're aligned with what matters to you on a fundamental level, on an essential level. So what is that for you? And again, if you have to go back. And then start tapping into it. So let me move on to how we can, access it, right? How do we access or bump up zest, okay? So, let me here, I just want to get to my notes. One of the things that helps the most is movement, okay? I don't know if you can tell if you're watching the video, I am standing. I have a standing desk, and that is deliberate. My earlier videos, you might have noticed I was sitting. But I have a standing desk and I can move. And that helps my energy and my zest flow better. And I can move around, and movement it just matters. So if you're already going to a gym, if that's your thing, or if you're already like going for a run or whatever your movement is, think about how much that enlivens you. Okay? How much does that movement help you? How much do you feel better after movement, okay? But movement doesn't have to be like a workout. It can be for fun, okay? Think of kids playing games. They are ideally in movement all the time, right? Simon Says or Red Rover. I mean, again, these are old games. I don't know if kids play these games anymore, but running around the playground, okay? Having fun, dancing, skipping, just moving. So what can you do in your environment at work and at home and elsewhere to move? I love to dance in my kitchen, turning on the music that gets me going, and I will do that. Not going to nightclubs as much anymore. So what can you do that will just get you moving? Okay. And if you have like your, phone or your computer, there are a gazillion apps out there with different options for movement that help you feel good. So one of my daughters is really into these yoga apps, and she'll do yoga. That doesn't do it for me. Or I have the dance apps. That's what I'm using when I work out in my living room. But I'll just free dance in my kitchen. So what can you do to move today for 1 minute, just to move and see how you feel? Now the other thing is nature. Can you go outside? Can you get some fresh air? If you want to hug a tree, can you hug a tree? Can you just get outside and like be around nature, okay? There is research that shows that when we are moving and when we are outside in nature, it does boost this sense of vitality, right? This sense of aliveness, this sense of life is an adventure, this enthusiasm. There's something about being. Can you go for a hike? Can you go for a walk? Can you go for a swim? If that's not an option, can you look at pictures of nature? Can you see nature? I have my computer here set up up against a window, and I can give my eyes a break from the screen. So if you're working on a computer, can you give your eyes a break from the screen and just look out in the distance? Train your eyes and I'm looking at a tree. Can you look outside the distance and just connect to those elemental things that will help fill you with vitality? So movement is a big one. Music, a big one, okay? And what works for you, not the music that brings you down, right? Okay. So those are just 2 simple ideas to get enthusiastic and get energized and have more zest in your life, right? Why does everyone love a party, right? Maybe not everyone loves a party, but it's an opportunity to like socialize, mingle, maybe dance, hear good music. Maybe you can go to a concert. Something about hearing live music or listen to music, just any kind of music fills you up. Take a music bath. Take a forest bath. Just move. Because when we're still, when we're stagnant, everything just kind of can get heavier. So open it up and move and shift things around, and you will be tapping in and exercising that muscle of zest. I would also say you can pair this with the other way we've talked about, which is humor, okay? So if you are listening to something that's funny or watching something that's funny, think about that, how that also makes you, it gives you these feelings of like, even if it's momentary respite, like all is okay in the world. Like if you can laugh, there means there's no danger, unless it's a fearful laugh, right? But let's assume it's like a genuine laugh. Your body is signaling that there's no danger, right? There's no stress. You are laughing. It's a release. It's a release. That's great. Okay. So there's Zest. And we want to encourage, if we have kids or work with kids, for them to be enthusiastic. We want to like honor that and recognize that. Sometimes in schools, we are not set up to really recognize or honor that zest in the classroom setting because, teachers need to teach. Some teachers are able to generate that enthusiasm and to bring it into the classroom, and others, it's not their style and they need a little more maybe of an environment that is not conducive to everyone being, enthusiastic. It's complicated, but if you are a teacher or a parent, how can you honor most kids' innate ability to be tapped into that zest, right? The younger they are, probably easier than the older they are, especially with teenage hormones. But where can they feel alive? What is it that lights them up? How can we acknowledge that? How can we bring it in if it's a subject that like some kids are not that into? How can we bring in these ideas of tying it maybe to the bigger picture so they see the meaning in it and making it like this adventure of learning, right? It might be a stretch, but just something to think about, right? Bringing it in. And when you're in a family unit and everyone is so different, how can you acknowledge different levels of this character strength of zest, right? And honoring that and not judging for those who have it too much, you're too much, or, who don't have it enough, according to the others, right? It's very interesting to look at it through the lens, looking at family dynamics and relationships through the lens of zest, right? Which is this energized enthusiasm for life. Life is an adventure, vitality, tackling things with this sense of, I would say, fun, right? I think zest is associated with this sense of fun. So another way to, ask yourself or exercise your muscle of zest is, what is fun for you? What is fun for you? What brings you like a lightness and a joy? The zest and the humor, that fun, that's all kind of connected. Can you see how that's connected? All right. And then I wanted to share just a few quotes, because quotes are awesome and they sometimes make things clearer in a way that, lines and lines and lines of text or speech do not. So here we go. Let's see. Here we go. The secret of genius is to carry the spirit of the child into old age, which meant never losing your enthusiasm. And that is by Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, I think, which I just reread recently. I think he wrote Brave New World. But that's a good one. The secret of genius is to carry the spirit of the child into old age, which meant never losing your enthusiasm. Okay, so again, going back to that idea of like, when you're a baby, and go as far back as you need to, that enthusiasm. Again, entheos, right? That connection to source or essence, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, but that thing that like makes you alive, right? That makes you feel connected to life, an active participant in life, an enthusiast for life, enthusiasm. What are you enthusiastic about? And here's one from Albert Einstein. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Okay, so that'd be good for when we talk about curiosity, but I think it's also good for zest because there's that passion aspect, right? something that enlivens you. It's something that there's like it's not this cold, analytical, intellectual feeling. There's a warm feeling there of like, it matters. It's like a heart sense. Enthusiasm is much more than just an intellectual curiosity. I have a lot of quotes here. I will share them, but one more. John Bon Jovi, Hello, It's My Life. Okay, no matter what you do with your life, be passionate. You see passion? Can we see passion here? Because no one really quotes Zest. Except for the commercial for the soap. So I will leave you with that. It is, there's a lot more here, but think about Zest. If you want to use, the synonym of enthusiasm, right? You can, obviously. There's a lot here. A vitality, aliveness, like what brings you to life, right? In a good way. And movement. Even going for a walk and thinking about that question will start exercising your zest muscle if you focus on like looking for the things that light you up. Okay? So I wish you an enthusiastic, zesty day. And I will see you next time. Thanks.